Alrighty, hello everybody. We are a little bit early here, making sure the stream is coming through. Can everybody hear me okay? Just want to get a thumbs up on that. If someone can let me know in the chat, otherwise I'll work on fixing it. Alrighty. Let's see here. Let's get our to-dos up. So that way we know what we're working on. Can I zoom that? Thanks for signing on, Tomas. Appreciate it. Alrighty. Well, it looks like we've got a few folks in here, so we might as well get the ball rolling. Yeah, everything should be recording, so this will be up when on the channel when we're done here. So hopefully y'all can look at it and share it with your friends, and then next time we'll get even more people, and we'll just keep growing from there. It'll be pretty exciting. But all right, so welcome everybody. Yeah, totally. It'll be available later. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me here. As you may or may not have seen on Twitter, I'm looking to get back into live streaming. I've kind of played around with it a little bit, but hopefully we'll be able to get on a bit more of a regular schedule. So hoping to be doing every Tuesday night around 6 p.m. Central Time, just because that's what works for my schedule. And maybe a little bit on the weekends. We could do it a little bit earlier for our friends around the world, so we can say hello to them. For this kind of stream and this project, what I'm going to be working on is LaraShoppe, which is what folks were asking about on Twitter. So I kind of asked everybody what they were interested in seeing me work on. And Online Shop came back as the #1 sort of requested project. So we're going to be building an online shop, and we'll kind of figure out a little bit later in the stream what exactly we're going to be selling. But I've got a few ideas to kind of start the discussion there. And yeah, so for this project, we're going to be building it in Laravel for the backend. So that'll be PHP and then Laravel, the framework. We'll be using Laravel Nova. For our CSS framework, we'll be using Tailwind. For our JavaScript, we'll be using Vue.js if we need it. I'm not planning on doing tons of Vue.js with this, but if we end up doing some, it will definitely be Vue. And then I'd like to use TDD once we start working on our front-end API as well. So or at least our front-end controllers and resources. And then we'll kind of roll from there and incorporate any new technologies as we need them. And of course, we'll probably use tons of Spady packages and everything else. But what I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to try and keep it as organic as I can. Really treat this like I'm developing an app as I would professionally or for a spare project, a part-time project or something I'm working on in my spare time. But really treat this like a legitimate application. And hopefully you can ask me questions along the way and get a real feel for how to use Nova in your own applications and all the other technologies that we're going to be using. So if you're new to this or if you've been using it for a long time, feel free to hop in with any questions here, and I'll be happy to stop and answer along the way. And if I missed your question, I'm sorry. You can always hit me up on Twitter, and we can always address it in the next stream. So, all right, so we've got our to-dos up on the screen right now, and these are just I have a checklist for when I'm starting a new project. I think that's a really great habit to get into. I didn't have one for a long time, and every time it was like looking back at my old config files and trying to figure it out. But for this project, I went ahead and set up a little bit of a to-do list, so at least we can get up and running here pretty quickly. And I'll open up my terminal here so we can get the ball rolling. So we'll cd into my code directory. All right, so we're going to set up a new Laravel project, which is always such a fun time. We'll call it LaraShoppe. And that was just the best domain I could get for what we were building. So I do have the domain. I want to put up a website so we can all kind of maybe build a little community around this and go from there. But yeah, so we'll set that up when the time comes. So yeah, so we're just installing the framework and everything else nicely, and my webcam is blocking my screen a little bit there. So let me. Those are the wrong buttons. All right. Forgot how to put it in the top corner. Oh, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we'll just clear that so I can see it, and we'll go into MySQL, and I'm gonna make a new MySQL database for this, just because it's a little bit cleaner. I normally have like one. Ooh, that's the wrong kind of command. I have like a demo database that I normally use for side projects, and this just is a faster, easier way to do this. So that way I won't blow out our database in between streams here. So Lara, I spelled that right. Create database. Awesome. Cool. I think we can run quit. Nope. Ooh. Nick hasn't used MySQL in a while. Exit. Maybe I need to put a. There it is. Okay. Let's clear that up. Add to SQL Pro. So I've got a few databases in here. Sorry, I'm using two screens right now. So yeah, this is that demo database I was talking about. So we'll actually copy this over. And I'll call this LaraShoppe. And username is going to be root, no password. Database is what we just made. And, and that should be good. And we don't have anything, obviously don't have anything in it. So let's go ahead and configure our env, and I'm going to have to open up PHP Storm here, and then open up our new project, and my fan will start running because it will index all the files there, and indexing the files, it's running the streaming software, so we're going to get a little a little bit of fan here, but that's okay. We can close this guy for now, though. Help out with that, and we'll actually cd into the project. Cool. Let's download the new version of Storm. Long overdue for an update, so we're on the latest version for this. Actually, well, I can't run makeoff right now. Waiting for that to come up. Almost done here. I was going to open an old project, which I don't want. Okay, so open an existing a new project. Okay, open that guy up. I need to get a little more RAM on this, on a machine. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's going to scan all the files, which is why it's going to be obnoxious. But in the meantime, we'll just open this guy up. Head over to our env. And so for those of you who don't know, the env is where we keep all of our configuration files that we don't want to make, that we don't want to put into version control. And on the topic of version control, I am going to be using GitLab, but it's going to be in a private repo because under the Nova license, I'm not allowed to publish the files with Nova in it. So I'm going to have to keep all of this on. Now I'm using a PHP Storm for this one, but I actually like Visual Code Studio a lot when I'm working with just Vue.js. But for the Laravel and the PHP stuff, I'm still on PHP Storm. But what was I saying? So yeah, for the version control, I can't open source this or make it public. There might be a workaround where I can ignore the Nova files, but I need to check that with a few more folks. So for the moment, it's not going up anywhere public that we'll be able to see it, but you'll be able to see everything that I'm working with here. So hopefully you can always review the the lessons. Alrighty, so now that we've got that guy up and running and we're in the directory, we can run php artisan make auth, And I actually have a shortcut alias for this. I just use PA, so I just wanted to type that out so you guys could see it. But now we have our authentication scaffolding generated. So if we hop back into SQL Pro, which is opening down here. Oh, I didn't save it. Okay, so we'll just, I think I still got that. Yeah, okay, nice. I think that's right. What do we call this, Lara? Is that right? Name will be root, password will be DB. We'll add it to favorites, and then we'll connect. Huh. Something's up here. So we just ran all those guys. Oh, that makes sense. I don't know what I just ran that against. So let me try this. Okay, so I actually didn't run migrations, which is why. So we generated the auth. That'll run everything there, which should now be showing up. Okay, awesome. So we know our database is working and everything is looking good. It looks like all my files just stopped, or my PHP Swarm indexed everything. Not going to use Docker. Don't have to worry about that. Okay, thank you. I don't know how to get rid of that guy, but we don't worry about that for now. Okay, so we've got all of that set up. And let's go ahead and install Nova. So if we open that up. So going to Nova, this is just the website. If you're not logged in, you can just hit register now. I'm already logged in, so I just get to go straight to the releases page. And in here, we've got a good update here. Interesting. Okay, so that's no problem. Let's grab the latest version. So I'm going to just download this and then open up the documentation so we can go through the installation guide. Oh, that's fun. Using VuePress for the backend here. Okay, cool. So in my downloads folder, which is a mess right now, I'm just going to go ahead and unzip that. Do it on my other screen just because I've got other stuff over here. And then we'll go ahead and rename that to Nova just to make things easy. Okay, so where's my, okay. So we're gonna move that downloads, and then Nova, and we're gonna put that in our file, or our folder directory. Cool. So I use the command line to do that because it grabs all the hidden files, and it's just easier than doing it from within my from within like the directory structure, something like that. And then, okay, so now we've got that, so we can open up our, sorry, I'm kind of dodging the webcam, it's blocking my screen a little bit here. Okay, so now we can open up our composer. Let's see, JSON, nice. Then we'll grab that repositories. You kind of put it wherever. I like to put it right below here. And then in our require, we're going to add this Laravel Nova line just like that. And that actually, we don't need that trailing comma. And then we'll run composer update. And then we should have Nova installed. Composer update. So it's a pretty easy installation process. I haven't really run into too many troubles with it. Just kind of copy it over and then run the add it to composer JSON, and then you can run composer update and run the Nova commands, and you're pretty good to go. I have run into issues with actually updating Nova itself, where we'll probably end up doing that throughout the course of the project, but I've had to go in and actually delete the vendor file because it was caching, which if you run into that issue and you just kind of Google around for it, you will come upon the GitHub repo for the Nova issues, and you will find the solution for that. But that's just something I've run into a few times, and it's frustrating when it's happening because it's not an easy error to track down. But Googling around has definitely helped for that one, and hopefully we'll actually do that at some point, and you can see exactly what that process looks like. So So I don't know why this is taking. Okay, there we go. It's taking a minute. All right, cool. So that looks all good. So we'll use my alias again to install this, and then we'll run migrate as well. Nice. That's just a little the double ampersand there. We'll run the command afterwards, but if the previous command fails, it'll stop the execution of the line there. Okay, nice. So I think that means, and I'm using Valet, so this should all have been alias for us. So .test. This is looking pretty promising. Nice. So we're in, and if we go to /Nova, we should get the Nova login, and we do. So now we know Nova's installed. Nova comes with some commands that we have. Right here, let me clear this so we can take a better look at that. So Nova comes with some commands out of the box, which are super, super helpful. A lot of them are like the Laravel commands, but some of them are kind of unique. So one of my favorites is the Nova user, which is a very nice sort of terminal command, so I can put myself in as a user, and we'll just use my email, which is, spell my name right? That looks right. And I'll just use a simple password, which you'll never guess what it was, and then we'll hop in, and just like that, we're in Nova. And Nova is not really mobile optimized. It's probably one of my biggest gripes with it. But for the most part, it is awesome. And I've had a really great time using it. And yeah, there we can see myself in there. We can update everything here. If we hop back in, we can come into look at the individual resource. I can come up here and log out. And for the most part, it's looking pretty static. And we've got some help links here to kind of get us started. But we really don't have tons of stuff yet. So, and we'll definitely add to that along the way. But that's just how we get up and running with Nova. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and add Tailwind and Laravel Purge CSS. So we're kind of set up on that side. And this is kind of a pretty good look at my typical, at least startup workflow. I like to get everything set up before running and getting like just diving into the code. I like knowing that, okay, I've got Tailwind when I need it, I've got Nova ready to go, and then everything just starts, I can start moving from there. So we'll use yarn for this. We'll initialize that file afterwards. Yeah, totally. I've had some folks ask me about how they're trying to customize it. I haven't seen anybody come up with a really great answer yet. I'm kind of surprised they didn't make it mobile optimized or friendly. Maybe that's coming in a future patch. That would be a good, I'd pay for that upgrade. I don't know about y'all, but that would be something worthwhile in my mind. But yeah, hopefully. Hey, welcome, Sergio. Hope I'm saying that right. But thank you. But yeah, so it's we're just installing Tailwind right now, and we're gonna add whatchamacallit, Purge CSS as well, or the Laravel Purge CSS, which is a nice package from the folks over at Spadey, who are the I guess the creme de la creme of the the open source community here in the Laravel world. So we'll definitely check that out. Let's see here. Alrighty, I think that's everything. Yep. I need to get a little stand so this screen's a little higher, but we'll go ahead and initialize this file here. Awesome. Awesome. Good to know. Okay, so we got our Tailwind config file, and now we'll go ahead and add all these guys into our sass files. I'm going to use sass for this. That would be in our resources folder. Boy, this is going slow. It's kind of indexing again. Probably should use VS Code. It's really what it comes down to at this point. But we're going to try and suffer through this for a little bit more, and if it gets really bad, we'll make a switch. Okay, so sass. I typically delete the default sass structure. I typically have a subdirectory for my partials, and then do like an index import and try and do sort of a more modular approach to it. but y'all can do it however you want to do it. And we'll add Tailwind, and this is SCSS, but I'm going to change the, where's that rename? Oh, well, not, I think because it's indexing, it won't let me do it right in line there, so we're just going to do it here, which is frustrating. Okay, so that should be sass. Oh, that is just double whammy. Why did it do that? That's weird. That's a new one. That's a new error. You know what we can really do, though? Probably because it's all indexing, but there we go. Go ahead and delete that guy for me. Awesome. So now we'll copy this over, and we don't need the trailing semicolon anymore because it's a sass file instead of a SCSS file. And components and utilities, and that'll get us pretty far for now. And if this had indexed and was displaying this correctly, it'd give me all sorts of red squiggly lines, which is totally okay. And now we need to set up our mix build, but I'm going to do that in a second. I'm actually going to go ahead and install this Purge CSS first, and then we'll come back to this. And we can open that up over here. Now let's see here. So ER add. Nice. So we'll get that installing. Cool. Yeah, so we're gonna have to do this kind of sass specific installation setup here, but that's okay. And then we'll come over here. Okay, cool. So while that's going, we've already renamed the default sass files, and we'll start configuring our Webpack mix file. So we're gonna have to require and import and basically just get everything in here. Oh, it's a const now. That's new. That's actually fine. We can do that too. With the mic for a little bit. Let's see if I can get that out of my way a little better. Okay, cool. Nice. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy all this in, and then we can talk about it. Let's make it a little easier because I've got my own setup here that I like. So what are we doing here? Actually, we don't have a main.js yet. Make sure we take care of that. Cool. It's a problem with copy pasting stuff from other places. So yeah, so we've got kind of our JS setup as it was. The sass setup now references app sass instead of app SCSS. We've got this Tailwind sass specific setup here, where we're not processing the CSS URLs. Purge CSS is pretty easy like this. You just add this one little method here and you're good to go. Then I like to extract sort of my bigger vendor libraries, and that's for a different project, but we'll call this, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. But extracting my vendor libraries just so I don't have to worry about them that much, and then using, and that's default Laravel mix methods and sort of uses there, and then browser sync, which I don't know if we're going to use too much of today, but when I am working with a lot of JavaScript or a lot of styling, that's definitely a really nice feature to have. And then finally, if we're in production, there we go. It looks like everything's indexing now. I'll typically use the versioning as well. So now that we've got that set up, we need to update our views. So we'll update the welcome, which is all good. I guess we technically don't need to update our welcome. I'm just gonna throw it in there because it's nice to have in case we copy it later. But I will definitely update our app.blade layout file, and we'll kind of get rid of this guy. We'll copy that in there. Basically, I'm just replacing this to use mix instead of asset, so that way we're using all of the correctly compiled and version files instead of the default ones. So that's what we're doing there. This is using Unito, which it looks like a lot of the Laravel stuff is starting to use now, which I'm a big fan of Unito. And with that, I think we've kind of set up our, I should probably run this to make sure. I have an alias for npm run production, which is just prod. I've got another one for watch. I always find they're useful just to have that if you're using them a lot. Just make sure it's aliased and ready to go, but hopefully we won't have any issues there. And if we go back to our Nova site, oops, there's an error. Because we haven't compiled it yet. So that'll compile. And as that's compiling, what's the issue here? Process.exit, please run mix again. So this is a new one. Let me go check our webpacks out and see if we're running anything weird here. If I messed something up and somebody caught it, let me know. But it looks like everything should be working okay. And we have Laravel Purge CSS, so let me just check that we have all this installed in here. Yeah, it's a dependency, it's in there. Tailwind's in there, so that shouldn't be an issue for us. Check this guy out. Shouldn't. Yeah, I didn't think it would. So let's see here. Complete log, no license. So let's take a moment. Exit's not a function. To the Google, which is my premier source of all code answers. Which is weird. Looks like there might be some. Well, that was on run dev. Let's see. Let's try running this cache clear. Might have some stuff cached in there from another project that doesn't make sense in this one anymore. Okay, let's try running that again. Oh, okay, that's not even, because we cleared it, so let's run yarn again. It's always something. Can never get it to go 100% right every time, and that's natural. Things are changing and moving around, but most of the time it's not too terribly bad. So let's see here. See if we get that same error or not. So again, an issue with the cross ENB, which I've had issues with in the past, where it doesn't, for some reason or other, doesn't get installed, or is missing, or whatever other issue. So if that's going to keep being a problem for us, we might have to look in a few other places. But it's normally not this hard. I'm kind of doing some. There we go. It compiled on that, so we just need to clear out the cache there, and there we go. Nice and easy for us. And I think, yeah, we're already, so when this is actually a really good point to make. When we're the reason we don't see logged in or register here is because we've already authenticated ourselves with Nova. And I'll actually open that in another browser so we can see it. Nova. Oh, that's going to get a 404. Actually, which will get a really nice 404. I love all these updated ones. Thanks, Tobias. Really appreciate it here. Have a good rest of your night. Definitely get some sleep. So yeah, so since we're already logged in and authenticated with Nova, we're technically logged in on the front end as well, because we're using the same user table and the same authentication process. So that's actually something we're going to need to sort of lock down for our own usage. So within our app providers, inside the Nova service provider, you can come in here and in this gate, you can say who you want to allow access to, or you can really sort of define who you want to have access to Nova, or at least the backside of your application. So what I like to do is actually define an isAdmin method on the user. That's one approach. You can definitely use the in-array email check here as well, where you just kind of hard code it in. So if I put in my email, it would just be, and you'd be good to go here. One thing to note is that this is only in non-local environments. They kind of give you a heads up here. So when we're testing and playing around with it here, if I had used a different email, I wouldn't get kicked out. But in production, that's been the case so far. I'm definitely going to triple check that, because I've got a Nova app that's going to go live in a few days here, but that's just another piece of the puzzle. But yeah, so you can definitely do it like this. I think for right now, this is probably perfect for us. I don't really see us getting too much more robust unless we start adding. Actually, that's not true. We probably will have the ability to add other admins to our e-commerce store. So maybe we'll come back and refactor that in a little bit. But yeah, so I guess the last part of what we're going to be doing here in LaraShoppe is figuring out what we want to sell. So I kind of wrote out some ideas, and I think it'd be kind of fun if we kind of center this around selling Laravel swag or goods and other things of that nature. So maybe we'll be selling stickers, t-shirts, hats, other things, maybe buttons, coffee mugs, you name it. I think that's kind of nice because it'll give us a broad variety of items. So we'll take a look at how do we model something like that specifically within the data, which I think will be a pretty interesting challenge for us. So looking at various different inventory content types. And then from there, we'll probably do some other features as well. So the checkout flow will definitely be something we'll have to take care of. We'll have to look at who allowing users maybe to sign in and have their own account so they can see their previous inventory. I'm probably going to use Stripe for this. So whatever kind of Stripe integration we're going to end up using. So something for Laravel Cashier. And I know there's some great Nova packages kind of coming out already as well. But what I kind of want to focus on first is getting the inventory set up in our backend, in the Nova backend, and then we can kind of roll from there and see exactly the additional features we're going to add on to this. But just as a general view, this is going to be a pretty basic, probably, store with like a gallery view where you can see all the items in the store and maybe search on them. So maybe we'll do some Scout stuff. Or maybe we'll build a really nice Vue.js kind of what we call inventory search, where you have all these filters and tags and sizes even, and you can kind of filter it out based on that. So we'll do some of that stuff, and then we can go ahead and let users click in and see individual items, maybe see a description or some other information about each type of inventory item. And then on the back end, we'll use Nova to manage all of these different pieces, and then also use Nova to generate the metrics so we can kind of track our sales volume and everything else that's important for us to understand how our store is operating at any given time. So yeah, so we're about 30 minutes in. I'm probably going to keep these to about an hour a week or so, or we might go a little longer, just to give you all a heads up of what the time commitment these are going to be. So yeah, so let's get right into it here and start working on our inventory. So for that, we're going to start with a model. So like most things Laravel, models kind of drive a lot of the picture here. And we'll just go ahead and create an inventory. And I haven't really, to be perfectly honest, thought out exactly the relationships or how this is going to work 100%. I have played with it in my head a little bit, but I don't really have a real set focus or idea. And the reason being is I want you guys to see this as organically as possible. This is in a larger, more structured project. Professionally, I would do a lot of design and user experience work and sort of stakeholder research and understanding what the business needs are and all that prior to a project like this. So it would really just be more of an execution. But for a side project, I typically won't do as much of that front-loading work, and I'll try and figure out some of the nuances within the code itself. And so we're going to take a little bit more of that approach here and just kind of have a little fun with it. So what am I doing here? So yeah, so we're making the model. We're going to call it inventory, and then I'm going to use the all tag or the a tag to just generate a migration in a factory as well. So we kind of have all of our stuff up and running, and we can get rid of that for now. And we'll get rid of this guy, and we'll bring this back over here. And we kind of only care about that for the moment. Great. Looking good. Right on. And close that. Trying to close out as many, whatchamacall, as many applications that don't need to be running as possible. And here we are. So we're in. We'll close out some of these guys. We don't really need them yet. And where are we? So we're in our app folder. We've got inventory. Nice. And we're probably going to need to go to our database here and figure out what our inventories are going to look like. Okay, so hey Mikey, welcome. Let's see here. Yeah, no worries. I was always happy to share the process. I think that's the part that gets missed a lot when I'll write a blog post or something, and we're kind of missing. Oh, that does make sense. Missing that nuance, and so that's just what we're going for here. It's a little bit of that behind the scenes look at what's going on. So we'll do our fillable, and this, for those of you who aren't familiar with Laravel, is where we define attributes of the model that we want to allow mass assignment to happen, and that just helps us keep our app a little bit safer and a little bit more protected, a little bit more in our control, so that way we're not letting them override like the ID or anything like that, or letting users override the ID if they happen to hit an unprotected router for whatever reason, get access to it. But what I typically like to do when I'm developing is use Fillable and then use it to scaffold out what I think the model should look like in my head, and then go from there to then go into the database or the migration and fill it from there, just because it's a little easier to write in Fillable as opposed to like doing the whole like this column equals whatever. So we're probably going to want like a UUID of sorts for each of these. That'll probably be pretty important. Probably going to want a type of inventory. So like I was saying, like sticker or something like that. And I actually will often define these as variables here. So that's our constants. So I think that's right. I haven't done this in a second here. What do we want to call this? I don't think we need a $. We'll call this all caps. So if we said like sticker, like it's spelled today. Like that. That should be all good. And then like another one. So that's just Command D to duplicate it. I don't know if you guys see my screen, my key logs or not. And then let's see here. We'll do like t-shirt. We'll just say shirt. What else did we talk about? We talked about like a mug. We do mugs. I think we, of course, as soon as I close out of that document, I need to reference it again. Let's see here. Anything else? Hats. We do hats. Anything else you guys want to sell in the store? We really sell almost any kind of swag within reason here. I don't know. Maybe we'll launch it. Maybe this would be kind of a fun community project for everybody. I have to talk to the Laravel guys to see if they could hook us up with some licensing or something, but who knows. Okay, so those are kind of types. And again, this is kind of just part of my process and how I'll kind of think, okay, that's the attribute, and maybe these are, for something like this, for types where it's going to be very static, and I'm going to want a lot of control over exactly what's going into the system, and also kind of to serve as documentation for myself. When I'm like, okay, what types do we have, or what's allowable? Instead of letting it just be an open text field, I'll set up these constants, and then create little helper accessor methods, so I can to do it. Socks are popular. Good call. Thank you. We should honestly just do a sock shop. That would be a much more profitable business for us. I want to do sock. Socks are probably plural. I don't know why I didn't make that one plural. Hat. Stocks would make more sense to be plural, but we'll keep it consistent for our for the sticklers out there. Okay, so we've got type. We're probably going to need some sort of not a label, probably a title makes more sense. Name would also make sense. I'm gonna stick with title for now. I think that's kind of a nice version of it. We're gonna probably have sizes. We'll probably store that directly on the model for now. That could be, honestly, could be its own table. And we could have a many to many. I could be overcomplicating this in my head as well. But let's for now we'll call it a column. And if we need to change it, we'll come back to it. But probably before size, we'll have some sort of description. We'll have some sort of image, like a preview image, and we'll call that the URL because it'll just be a reference to it. And I think for now, we'll also, so slugs are a common question. We technically have a UUID, which would be one way to do this. We also could use a slug. I prefer slugs because it's more human readable. So that's definitely, and you know what, UUID might not be what we're looking for here. We're probably looking for more of a skew. I haven't done too much in e-commerce, but that makes more sense just from my basic understanding. So we'll call it a skew. And then for those of you who I don't know what the actual definition is, but we'll SKU, stock keeping unit. So that's basically in a lot of, I'm looking it up and not showing you guys. So for a lot of like e-commerce solutions, that's what they use to identify specific inventory items. And we'll use that kind of here. And you know what, technically, these are almost like inventory content types as opposed to actual items like stock, which is probably something we're gonna talk about here. Oh yeah, we can definitely increase the font size. Thank you. Yeah, if you have any questions like that, feel free. I'll definitely work on it. So let me. Font size. Let's see. General. That looks promising. Yeah, I think I'll bump that up to like 21. Nice. Is that better? I hope that's better for you guys. So, and a lot of this work will, I'm kind of talking out loud here just because I think for everybody's benefit. I will often kind of rubber duck it and talk to myself or whatever I have at my desk here, but just kind of a nice way to talk through problems. I believe a SKU belongs to each and every stock item. I could be wrong about that. So let's go back to that definition there. Awesome. Stock keeping unit. Tracks the item for inventory. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll actually have like inventory be one thing, and then we'll have stock, inventory stock maybe be another table. And for here, we'll have a UUID. And then we don't really care about the size so much down here. We'll care about that more on the element, the inventory stock itself. So we got UUID type. We will add slug here, and we'll move that up here. So we'll get into how do you create slugs, all sorts of ways to do this. I've got a few that I've used in the past that I kind of like, and that are I've actually done it with Nova, so that'll be another good thing to look at. And then from here, I think let's just start with this, and we'll kind of, if we could build this out, I'd be pretty happy. So let's see here. So now let's go ahead into our migration. Let me split screen that so we can see them both at the same time. Okay, so we're gonna have, and we'll just make a UUID field, and we'll call that UUID. Real simple stuff here. And then the type, that'll just be a text field. I'll make it a string. And then that'll be type. I forgot the difference. I think text actually has a character limit and string doesn't. I could be totally wrong about that or have it backwards, so let me know if I have that backwards. We'll go ahead and add the slug. That'll also be a string, title. All these are going to be required. Actually, we'll make the description nullable. You can see us launching a product. Oh, which reminds me, that's another good one to have. And we'll also make the preview image URL nullable as well. We're going to want to have a status for sure on this. That's just kind of a good sort of practice in general that I found. And oftentimes I'll make this a trait, like statusable or status trait. So we'll call this like active. But we don't need to extract that just yet. If we do it a few more times, we'll kind of look into it. So inactive. Ooh. We're probably going to want it archived. I can see us archiving content. We'll call it archived. And then we might want to do a coming soon. Coming soon, let's do coming soon. That's more explicit. It's a little longer. I was going to say preview. Shorter, it's more concise, but I think coming soon just has a nice ring to it. There's one M. Coming soon. Nice. Okay, cool. So that looks pretty good. Did I add that in here? Or would that be under type, status? Okay. Nice. So that'll definitely be required. And then we can actually set that to a default value. And I think that's always nice for your statuses. And I typically will set it to inactive. So what we can do here is we can go inventory like that, and that'll import it at the top for us here. So in this, yeah, it's importing it for us. And then we'll do the inactive status. And this is why I use these in my code here. I actually learned this from a friend of mine and a mentor. He kind of showed me how to use this, but it's a really nice pattern because now I don't have to like write inactive all over the code base. I can just reference it on the model itself, and I know it's going to be the same string everywhere. And if I need to change it in one place for whatever reason, I can change it one place and it'll cascade through the code base. So that's always, it's kind of a pre-optimization, but it's something I like to do because it keeps my sanity in check. Cool. So that looks like a pretty good start for our model here. And we'll go now to our factory, and let's just create a little. Okay, so we're gonna use UUIDs, and let's actually set that up. So I like using the Ramsey UUID package. Oh, I think that'll come up. I use Panda for my sort of welcome screen. So this is just a nice UUID package. It's pretty straightforward. I like their, essentially, I don't know, I kind of was introduced to it and then I've continued to use it. It's got a lot of stars and seems like a pretty popular package, so that's my rationale behind it. I'm not thinking too hard about it. There's probably a newer, better, updated way to do it, but I haven't figured that out yet. So for this, what we're going to want to do, and I'm actually going to reference some older code I have, so let me pull that up. Try and think where I've used it. Because what I'd like to do is actually put that directly within the creating loop, or the creating lifecycle of our our model, so that way we don't have to worry so much about having it default in the factory or when it's creating. So we'll just go ahead. And this again is something, I think I have a blog post on this, something you can consider extracting into a trait if you would like. So let me see here. But also something you can definitely just do once, and then as you need to, update it and extract it. So we're going to throw in the boot method, and we're going to call the parent boot method so that our model still works. And then, okay, so what I'm doing here, so we've got a few things going on. This is model, this is for a different implementation, but we're basically just using this Ramsey package here to generate it. And okay, cool. And now some reason it's taking forever to load up. Okay, so we can import it, and we'll just use the Ramsey class. So that's at the top now. And cool. So now whenever our model is creating itself, it'll generate this UUID. I'm not too worried that this will be, there will be collisions. That like the chances of that happening are sort of astronomically low, but it could maybe conceivably. Someone did the math on it, and it was like not in this universe kind of odds that this was ever going to happen. So I'm not terribly worried about it. What else do we have? The type. So the type's another a good one. So we'll just kind of come in here. So type. I'm going to say inventory. And I don't know. What do we have? Yeah. Oh no, we'll do socks. That's it to be the inventory of choice. Now that we've imported that, I'll just take away this namespacing here. Oop, too much. To kind of clean it up a little bit. And then status, we don't have to worry about it. It'll be inactive. And then slug. Okay, so that's our next one. We'll come back to that though, because I also want to take care of that in the creating hook, because we'll use the title for that. So title. Now we'll start using some faker. And this will be words. Let's just say 3. Whatever it is. Description. I think we could say paragraph. I'm not. Yeah, we'll just say paragraph. That's just Loramithson, my bet. And then preview image URL. I think there's a way with Faker to have them generate a URL for us. So let me see. Yeah, image URL. I think it just pulls off of some stock photo site. And then, okay, we're talking about the slug. So let me grab some code there. Another thing, and this is something, another kind of trick or hack or whatever you want to call it. I will often grab code from other places and use it, and it's that's just kind of as you become a developer, and I know this is more for the newbies in the crowd, which is totally cool. We were all there at some point. I will typically just grab code from anywhere. Previous projects, times where I've solved a problem before, and just say, hey, you know, this solves what we were working on. Let's go ahead and use that. And you know, this is going to have to be a little bit more involved here, because okay, so we'll do this. One of doing this. So we're going to slug the model title. So that'll be the slug. And if there is one, we're just going to append the ID to it. Now, pros and cons to this. Lots of cons, not a lot of pros, but I think for an MVP, for a quick build, this is appropriate, and you'll get along just fine with this. If you were going to do something much more public-facing, or much more important than this little demonstration, you could use a timestamp. I've used that before, and it's worked out nicely. You could use all sorts of different methods. You could also build a more complicated URL. I've definitely seen that before, where you have like a category, and or like in a blog, for example, it would be like the year, the month, the day, and you have a much less of a chance of there being a collision in the first place. But I think for right now, this will get us to where we need to get. Yeah, so let's keep rolling with it. And I think that should take care of our inventory. So if we go to our command line, we'll just run migrate. And then I'll hop into Tinker, and we'll see if we can create some models here. So we'll do app, inventory, class, and we'll just have it create. And we'll probably blow it up. String to lower, expect that to be a string. Array given. That's a new one. All right, so let's see what's going on. And we'll just die and dump. And let's see what's going on here. So that was not what I thought the words would do. Sentence? That's probably a little more what I was looking for. Ah, awesome. It's more than 3 words, but we'll roll with it. Nice. Cool. So let's see here. What do we get? So we got a title, we got a description. This got slugs really nicely. Yeah, looks like we got everything here. We've got a UUID that's unique and should definitely stay unique. We've got some description text, the preview image, which let's go throw this in. I think it's just a cat photo. Hope it's not something crazy. Just to show you guys what we're getting. Yeah, it's a nice little photo for us. Lauren Pixel, pretty straightforward. And we won't see anything, so if we refresh this, we don't see anything yet because we haven't really started using Nova. So that'll kind of be our next step here. And how are we doing on time? Kind of a little low on time, but we'll go ahead and create this in Nova just so you guys can see how fast and easy it is, because it should only take us a few moments here. So we'll do PHP Artisan Nova resource. It'll be slower if I spell wrong. And we'll call it inventory. And if it matches a model, a Nova is intelligent enough to recognize that and create the relationship. If not, you can like throw in an M flag and just give it the name of the model, for example, if they're different. So let's just see here. Yeah, that should be inventories. So work. Nice. So we can see we haven't told Nova yet what it needs to be showing here, so it's just showing the ID, but you can already see right off the bat it's pulling our one inventory item. So let's go about customizing it. So this is the Nova stuff. This is where it gets fun. Not that it wasn't fun before, but this will get really exciting for us. So like I said, it knew that the model was inventory already. We're gonna tell it the title is the title. And the search, I don't normally search by ID. What else did we say it had? Type, that's probably worth searching on. Where did I learn about testing in Laravel? That's a good question. I learned from doing it, essentially. So I basically had no idea how to do it. I had a really good mentor, and he kind of showed me the ropes a little bit. And then I kind of got the testing bug and sort of deep dived it. I learned a lot from Jeffrey Way over at Laracast. He's definitely a wonderful teacher. So learned a lot from him. But for the most part, it was a lot of trial and error, and I'm still not great at it. At least in my own mind, I don't think I'm great. So we'll kind of see as we go. But definitely, it's been a long journey. But there are little bits and pieces. Like, so for example, if you're just getting started with testing, focus on like factories first and generating fake data. And if you can generate fake data for your app, then you can really generate all the tests from that, and kind of there's a piecemeal way to approach it, and I think and it's kind of different for everybody. So you'll go ahead and find it on your own a little bit. But yeah, so I kind of learned school of hard knocks a little bit. But yeah, that was kind of my process. So we'll call this the text field, and we'll import that. So this is important here. So we got text, and now up at the top here, we're importing this Laravel Nova fields text. So that's how the framework knows that this is what we want it to be. And then we're going to make this the title field. And what Nova will do is if you put in the uppercase field name, then it'll automatically sort of make the attribution directly to the, what am I trying to say? Directly to the underlying column name. So if we wanted to call it like, inventory title or something like that, then you'd have to come in here and say like, okay, the column name is title. But if you don't worry about that and you just want to keep using it as you've named it, then you can put in the uppercase and it'll take care of it for you. So now we can see hopefully that the title will come through. Nice. So we've got the ID, we've got our title now. If you go into the detail page, you can see it. If we went into the update page, you can see it. And then if we tried to create one, all of a sudden now this is here and this is everywhere. And so really quickly you can build up a backend just by using configuration files for all the features you want to have in your app. So what else do we have? And all the fields are here. If you check this out, they've got tons and tons of field types. They're all super awesome. And then, yeah, we can kind of get the ball rolling here however we want it. So let's see. So let's go check it out. UUID is taken care of for us. We can actually take that out of here because we wouldn't want that to be fillable. Same with the slug. So we got status, title, description, and then the preview your image URL. So for now, we're going to kind of fake the image URL. We're just going to put in essentially another text. So this is a good example of where we might want to do that. So we'll type in here, image preview URL. Question, do you plan to add invoices for the products? Maybe. That's definitely a feature that I could see being useful. I'm kind of thinking more about letting Stripe handle that because Stripe it's going to be our payment system. But at the same time, I want to see what Nova Stripe integration packages are out there. I know folks are already working on that. And if they have a way to import the invoices into our application, I think that would be nice to show the users what they've kind of been working with. So that would be something I definitely consider adding. It's kind of a nice to have a little bit later feature, so we might not get to it for a little bit, but definitely something I'm considering in here. So let's see. This should work if I didn't blow it up. Image URL. So that's not getting it. And I think I did this right. Oh, there we go. Field name and conventions. So name column. The snake case. Which I thought we did. Oh, I got it backwards. That's classic error here. But let's see. There we go. Yeah, so like we customized the field name, but we're still directly referencing that column, whereas here it was the same, so we didn't really care. So yeah, just like that, we can do all sorts of fun stuff with Nova. And so what else do we have here? So we've got our, we're probably going to want to do a select field for these guys. Yeah, sass, for example, is something we'll come back to. So we're going to do select, and we're going to definitely want to use our, we're not going to call it size. Well, we have status, and then we also have type. And this is an array. Nice. Oh, we're required to have this. So what I like to do in cases like this where I know I'm going to be using these a lot is I'll actually make little helper methods. So down here, we'll do a function. We'll just call it a public function. And we'll call this one status. Oh, I'm spelling that right. Statuses. And we'll just return an array. We'll just reference the active status. And I'm keying this like this because that's kind of what Nova is expecting. In the past, like I would just do a normal straight array. I haven't figured out, mainly for lack of effort, but I haven't really figured out the way Nova wants it. So there's probably a cleaner way to do this, but for right now, I know this works, and we can come back to it if it's an issue. But kind of nice. And then coming soon. Nice. And we'll actually make this static. And then up in our Nova inventory, so that was our statuses. So let's just comment that guy out for now. And we can make a, what is this, inventory. Oh, that was the wrong import. We want to import the model. Nice. Which we'll have to, because there's a resource already in that file, we have to kind of do it inline here. We can't, unless we will use like an alias or something like that, we couldn't do it as an import at the top there. But yeah, so now we can see we're importing those values, which is nice because we'll kind of come down here, give it a refresh. We can see the status, but if we go to create something now, we can see all our options here, and they're hard-coded, and we know that we're going to have kind of full control over them. And there's definitely a way to make these like uppercase and no space and all that, but for now, I think that works nicely for us. And if we go back to like the edit page, we can see that it's pre-filled and everything, and it looks good. So we've got full control over those guys now. And we'll go ahead and wrap the types up the same way. And you don't have to do it this way. This is just the way I've come to do it, and it works really nicely in my mind. So that is what I like to do. And if there's a better way, if you guys know something I don't, feel free to say it in the chat or hit me up on Twitter and say, hey, this could be done differently. Have you thought about this way? I would love to see a better way to do it. Because it's a little, as much as I enjoy the control and the consistency throughout the code base, it is a little tedious to go around typing like this. But anyway, so now we have, I've named these incorrectly. So this is statuses. Yes, these are types. That would be embarrassing. All right, so now we go here. Oh, wrong button. And we'll do app, inventory, and we'll do types. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And really, we don't really need the image URL here. So this comes, Nova comes with a bunch of helpful display. Yeah, so only on forms. So a bunch of display methods. I think we kind of saw those in the documentation. Where did they go? Showing hiding fields. Yeah, so you can really customize exactly where you want the fields to show up. So we said only on forms, but now it won't show up here. Yeah, Mikey asked a good question. I kind of talked about this at the beginning of the stream a little bit. I cannot share this project on GitHub just because it's using the Nova license. There might be a way where I can ignore the Nova repository or something so it doesn't, that code doesn't get uploaded, but the rest does. But I want to run that by the powers that be and make sure I'm not breaking the license or anything like that. So I've got to do more research. I would like to if I can. If not, sadly, that's kind of the rules of the game here. But you definitely have access to all these videos. They'll be up on YouTube for as long as I'm making these, so you can always come check the videos if you want to see how I did something. So yeah, so that's how we do that. And then what else do we need to work on? I think that was it. Oh, probably we're going to want to do some validation. And validation, always super nice. And it basically uses the default Laravel validation out of the box, which is really, really super awesome. So you don't have to really learn new validation rules. You just have to learn how it works within the Nova system. So for us, we don't really have tons of rules. We really just have required rules. Oh, description. Can't forget that. We can, it's nullable, but we wouldn't want to. So that's going to be a text area. Really, really simple as well. And we're going to go ahead and throw that at the bottom here. And the order that you put these guys is the order that they will appear on the forms and everything. So that's just another thing to notice. And we'll close the script. And while we're on the topic, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. So we got description, title, status. Okay, that looks like we're good. And so text area is actually an interesting field because it will automatically, it's too much content, so we'll automatically make sure it's not showing up on the like the big index page, and then it'll kind of hides it here for us a little bit, so it's not blowing up if we have tons of content. I built a blog with Nova already, and so having these kind of fields hidden when you're just kind of scanning them is really, really useful. And then if you come in here, you can see you get a nice little text box, which my Grammarly plugin is blowing up here. Yep, Julie, I'm going to upload all the streams on this channel so you guys can see them at your own leisure and kind of watch them whenever you want. So these will all get uploaded here, and I'll try and be descriptive with the episode labels and everything so you guys can find them easily. I'm new at this too, so if you guys have any suggestions or questions, feel free to shoot them over. So okay, so what we're working on validation now. And really, we don't have tons of validation, because if we look at our details here, everything is kind of as is. So we really just need to make sure that the title is required. and then the status and the type are required as well. And for this, we'll start indenting. Whatever floats your boat. I like to just go ahead and do it. I haven't figured out how to do required in yet. I don't know if you're familiar with that validation rule, but if you have an array of things, you can basically say like this value that's coming into the system needs to be within this array. I haven't figured out how to do that exactly yet within Nova. I think there is a way, but I just haven't figured it out yet. So I'm not saying you can't, I'm just saying I don't know, which is a little nuance there. But anyway, so if we hop into our create field now and we try to create this, we get all the nice validation that we come to expect from Laravel. And it's kind of really nice out of the box. So if we go to our Laravel site, we can check out, I think they have something about, let me see here. So validation rules, what was I talking about? I was talking about in array. Yeah, there we go. Which is another nice, no, was I? No, that's not it. Oh, okay, it's in, sorry. So it must be required in these values. So that's kind of a nice way to do some checks if you have this array pattern or this kind of accessor pattern that I've been using. What else is there? Let's see. Oh, URL. That was another one that I wanted to make sure we had. So that I would expect to be a URL. Must be a valid URL, which I think we are. Just want to make sure we're giving it a URL when we're editing. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Text image URL rules. Nice. So if we hop back now to our create inventory, not a URL format, which makes sense. So yeah, so just like that, we've pretty quickly, only took us, how long we've been doing this? About 40 minutes to build our model and then build a corresponding Nova resource that lets us update it and load it. So actually, let's do that. Let's go ahead. So that's all for my CMS stuff. Really cool socks. That's what we'll start with. We're gonna need an image URL. Do we have? And we got an image of those Laravel socks. Let's see if we can find some. To the Google. Google's always got everything. Ah, so Taylor had them. Knew somebody was talking about them. Nice. All right, we'll grab this image. That'll work for us. And we'll just go ahead and make it active, or we'll say it's coming soon. We haven't really figured that one out yet. We'll call it sock. And let's update these to say Laravel socks. And then we'll say a really cool pair of socks. Just like that. And we'll just create it. And just like that, we've got it built already, crudding out in our system. We can search for it. So if we wanted to search for socks, we could see it coming up right there. Not sure why that one's coming up. Oh, because it's type. Because we also let types be searchable, which is nice. So for example, if we type in Laravel, we'll see socks come up, LA. Not sure why. I guess I have an L in my name. I don't think the search is that good. Everything's got an L in it. And then if we just wanted to find all the mugs, we wouldn't have any results. But if we wanted to find all the socks, we would. Just like that. So the search is actually really cool. And that's just using the default search. That's not Laravel Scout integrated yet. So it's a pretty useful system. Alrighty. So I think on that note, we're going to kind of call it a night here. Because I'm going to try and keep these to about an hour just so they're watchable in a reasonable amount of time. And also, don't want to take up all of your night and I guess all of my night as well. But thank you all for watching and sticking around with me here. Tell your friends, bring them along next time. We'd really appreciate having as many people watching as possible. And if we, what am I trying to say here? Yeah, feel free to share us around on Twitter. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday at 6 CST or Central Time for the moment. If we'll maybe work in a hour or two in the mornings, on the weekends, hopefully, for our friends overseas. And we're kind of just going to roll with it. So I hope you all enjoyed the stream tonight, and we'll see you next time. Bye.